Well, I'd like to welcome you all to another BYU Library Family History class that we have on each Sunday afternoon. We're on the school schedule, so sometimes we are not able to have this because the school is out of session. So that comes and goes. In the fall, there's a few weekends that are holidays also. So those are just the kinds of things, but normally we're all here. My topic today is, you might be surprised, find help with the AI search on FamilySearch Labs. I might change the word to, you will be surprised of what you will find if you get involved with this search engine. First of all, where is it and how do we use it? The FamilySearch Labs is the, let's call it, developmental part of FamilySearch, where they put products that may be integrated into the FamilySearch, may not be, and or may serve other purposes. And so these are this is something you can look at and test these and use them. Some of them work fairly well, and some of them need a lot of debugging to get working better. But in any event, you can also give feedback to FamilySearch about anything that goes on with your use of the programs, and that helps them fix the bugs and get everything working. A note about putting up a URL, an address for the FamilySearch Labs. It's familysearch.org/labs. The EN is the full thing. You can type that in also if you wish. When you're watching a video like this, these will be recorded and put up on the BYU YouTube channel, Library Family History Center YouTube channel, and it will also be put up on the website, on the library website. So this will, when you get to a part and you want a copy of that, the simplest way is to just pause the video and copy it out. So that's kind of what we're doing. Now, this is what you get when you click on that AI search help. It's a statement here that says, I use information from the Help Center, the Wiki, and Roots Tech, and more to find you answers. Okay. So why is this, from my standpoint, an extraordinarily good advance? Because the FamilySearch website has a tendency to grow, as do all major websites. And many of the sort of underused parts of the website become harder and harder to find. And especially when they revise parts of the websites, redo pages, and all the things that get done in the normal course of running a website. And so before, what we've had is a little question mark up there at the top of the page, and you can then click on that and try to find your way down to getting an answer to a question. But what we have going on today is this new process, which uses artificial intelligence to search the entire website and all the other websites, the Wiki and Roots Tech and all of the others. Roots Tech has now close to all over 2,000 videos online. Number changes as over time, but it will have, coming around again in March, 1st of March, with the new next Roots Tech, there'll be a new probably 1,000 more videos showing up on the website. So these are fabulous resources for information. Bear in mind that it's searching a limited amount. So if you ask a question about, for instance, records on FamilySearch or whatever, unless it's in the research wiki or in some other part of the searchable, it isn't going in and searching records. So you're not doing research with this. You're not finding your ancestors. This is the help center for locating information on the website itself. one of the questions is if you've ever tried this, if you tried to find something on the website that you knew about, some subject that you wanted to know about merging, or you wanted to know about uh, something about what records were available or anything about that, you may find it to be rather like scattered about on the whole website. So what's happened here now is that this AI search will basically look through all the information on the whole website. So it's going to turn up stuff that you or normally would have had to look 3 or 4 or 5 places for. Here's one fact, for example, that you might not know, and that is that when you go to the FamilySearch.org website and you look under search and you go down and look in the catalog that's there that you find in the Family Search under the search tab has not been updated for more than 2 years. So there's 2 years additional of millions of records that have poured in that are not in that catalog. And so they happen to be in the images part of the website. Actually, this what happens here now is that this AI search will give you the ability to search all of those at once without having to remember to do 3 or 4 different searches each time you're wanting to look for a record. So it also can turn up things you didn't know you could find. In other words, if you ask a question, a general question, you may find information on the website and linked out to things from Family Search that you didn't know existed at all. And you really wouldn't have known how to ask the question, because all you need to do is get into this is an AI chatbot. So you could just get into a conversation and ask for more information. So here's an example just to start out. If you've done English research and you've used and you get past a certain point in English research, you will, in England, what I'm talking about is this England Jurisdictions 1851 interactive map. Now, this map has been on the Family Search website for years, and it tells tremendous amount of information about every parish in England. So you can get the history of every single parish in the entire country. Now that in itself is something that's remarkable, but the problem has been that this map has been taken off of Family Search, put back on Family Search. One of the things, if you know enough about websites on the internet, you know that sometimes a website like Family Search will have what's called a site map, SITE map. And the site map will tell you supposedly where everything is on the website. Well, if you go down to the site map at the bottom of the startup page for Family Search, once you sign in, you go to the bottom of the page, clear down to the footnote thing, and there will be a link to the site map. Well, it'll give you some ideas about some of the different parts of the website that are available. And this 1851 map, which is extraordinarily useful, has been there on that site map, and then it's off the site map. And presently, it's off the site map. So here's the question: how do you find it? Well, if you're used to using computers a lot, you will just simply go on to Google and do a search for it. And I'll show you what happens with that. But you can put it in here and you can say map of England in 1851. Now, what this is going to illustrate is the main difference between doing a Google search and doing a search on this AI from an AI chatbot. So basically what you can do is ask this question. I mean, get a little bit confusing is that you think you have to ask a question in the sense that it's something that you would put a question mark after, and you'd have to have all the words like where is and all that. But one of the things that's kind of the major difference here, and what happens is that the community out there that's been developing on talking about AI and chatbots, meaning international community that's online all the time, every day. Basically, there are books that have been written and everything else saying that you talk to AI in a conversational way because it's like talking to a person. Well, it's not really like talking to a person, because even if you think that in your mind, that may get you a little bit confused about how it works. You're talking to a computer, and you need to practice doing that. So the more times you search and try to use the AI and change your language in it, you'll find out that you don't have to be real elaborate. All you have to do is give the AI some idea of what you do, what you want, or what you're looking for. In this case, I can put map of England 1851. Now I can do that here because this is looking at FamilySearch, and I know that there is a map of England from 1851 on FamilySearch. But I'm going to have to tell you, when I started this, I had no idea where it was. So I used this because it was an example, and I said, by the way, I don't even know where it is now, so I might as well ask that question first. And so that's what I did. But you can see it's not a question. I just put in a statement, and basically then it's going to answer that. And it explained to me, because I didn't ask them specifically to give me where the location was. See, in other words, now we're getting into what you have to do to get information out of the chatbot guy that's running the FamilySearch Help Center. It told me about that map. And and a side note, it gave me a footnote. It said, does FamilySearch, it gave me a link to an article. So I got this article from that search. And it told me how to use the English map and what happens if it finds it's down or doesn't work or whatever. But here is the link to the English jurisdiction's website where that map is actually located. So even though I didn't ask the right question, I still got the information. And so if you understand that concept, that's so much different than using Google, because if I'd gotten Google and I hadn't put in the right information, I may have gotten 2 million responses and couldn't find it in any of the pages. In both cases, there's a learning curve that involves learning to communicate with the computer, and that when you're using a search engine like Google, a search engine, rather than differentiating that from Google's AI program, which is Gemini, then you will, if you've been doing searches for a long time, you know how to do searches. But if you're talking to AI and wanting the same kinds of information, then you need to learn the language that's there. And so I'm getting a little kind of circular here, but the way that happens is that you just do it. In other words, it's not something like learning to play the piano because you have to learn the notes and all that. It's just do it. Start asking questions. And when you don't get the exact answer you want, think about what you'd have to ask to get the exact answer. It's kind of like asking questions of a 3-year-old who doesn't want to tell you the whole story. Now we have the map and the possibility of more information than you ever wanted to know, because this has a tremendous amount of information on this one map page. And it's tremendously helpful. It tells you the time frame for the records that exist in each of the counties, and additional more, lots more, tons more information. It's probably one of the best tools for doing English research that's out there. Okay, so what if I change topics and I want to know something about the US Civil War? In order to get away from the concept of talking to the AI and trying to explain it, and rather saying, could you please tell me some information about the US Civil War? I decided to do what I do, and that is just put in what I want. And so I said Civil War. And basically, here I got more than I would have expected about it, and a tremendously good starting point for doing research on the Civil War. And if I click again, you're going to see the whole article. So I'll just do that, and it'll scroll down through and show you this rather extensive article with a lot of links and some really good information, and then some additional help information at the end. And it tells you where to go out and get to more information. In other words, I've never seen this article. And so it's not something that I could search for. If I was going to do a search for articles on the Civil War, there would be tens of thousands, maybe millions of articles about the Civil War online. And my chances of ever finding this article are slim to none. But because this is directed and was done by FamilySearch, it has links to information on FamilySearch, like the Research Wiki and others that are going to be helpful. So I have moved from getting more links than I want to handle to getting usable information for start purposes and for asking further questions and asking further help if I need to do that. I may have enough links here to keep me going for quite a while. So it could tell me a lot of information that I was not available to me before. So after you get your first response from an AI, as long as you're in that, let's call it conversation, you can continue to ask questions about the same subject. Sometimes it just simply repeats the answer it gave initially, but if you change the way you've asked it to ask for more information, it will usually give you more detailed information. And that helps you to move from just basically zero into getting answers rather than links. So here we go with a question: help me find records from the country of Colombia. Okay. So now I put this in a different format here, so you can see that there's different ways you can address that. Here's what the response was. It gave me a long list of records and sources down at the bottom of records. And mostly what this was links to where these records the historical records could be found in the FamilySearch Research Wiki. So basically, rather than going and looking and trying to find my way through the program, and if I didn't understand the use of the wiki and I just started here and asked this question, I would be getting a very good introduction to the usefulness and the help of the records, the articles that are written in the FamilySearch Research Wiki, of which there are more than 100,000. So we've got a lot of information there. So then I could ask a next question, and that's, do you have records for Bogota? And the answer again, yeah, here's records for Bogota and the kinds of records with an explanation. So now we have a list of an additional list of links to the Research Wiki, and we have some specific ideas that's told us the kinds of records that I might be finding. You can keep asking questions. And I might mention that some of the chat bot, which is the natural language interface used to talk to this information that's in this large language model that is the search. And here, the large language model for this chat bot, to use the terminology, is the FamilySearch and the Research Wiki and the Roots Tech and all that. That's their core of information. So that's where you're going to get the answers from when you ask questions. But that's has never been really available previously. especially not incorporating the research wiki and incorporating the Roots Tech webinars that are all on there. Okay. So I'm asking another one. What about research in Bogota, Colombia? Okay. Certainly. And then there's things to tell you how to go about getting research and doing research assistance for Bogota, Colombia. But one of the things that was interesting about this answer is if you look closely at this, it's giving you help for research in Bogota, Colombia, but it literally did that and gave me a list of family search centers in Bogota, Colombia. It may get literally what you asked for, but not what you're really interested in. Now, maybe you're in Bogota already and you're asking these questions, or you intend to be in Bogota, but it's not really going to help me to know about the family search centers in Bogota if I'm sitting up here in Provo, Utah. This is kind of an illustration of what happens if you keep asking questions, but are not really focused in on what kinds of exactly what you're asking. There is a tendency here of the chatbot to respond literally to anything you ask. So you literally get what you ask for. And so you need to rephrase your questions and be more specific. And that will tell you what you're looking for. Okay, so let's change to this. Let's change this to a different kind of question. And this is a question about the collections that are on FamilySearch, or generally what kinds of things are available. And we're going to, when I do this particular exercise that I went through in putting together this presentation was basically aimed at seeing what kind of depth the answers could be. For instance, if I wanted to know what the earliest genealogical records in England were, I would do a Google search. That may or may not tell me. If I tried to find that another way, I could look and see what are the earliest records that I can find for England on the FamilySearch.org website. And that would be very tedious because in order to really understand the answer to that, I would need to look through page after page after page of records and look at every single one of those records and find out what was the earliest record. Okay, so that isn't going to answer that. But what we're asking here is a generalized question about the earliest genealogical records for a country, in this case, England. And I haven't assigned genealogical records. I could be more specific in my question here. But on the other hand, what I'm doing is I am trying to get a start position here. So I asked that question, and the Family Search helper, which they're calling a helper instead of a chatbot, says the earliest records were parish records, which date back to 1538. Now, 1538 is a crucial date in the history of records in England, because that's when Henry VIII split off the Church of England from the Catholic Church, and then simultaneously ordered the parishes to start keeping christening, marriage, and burial records. So those records began no earlier. Usually, maybe there's a few earlier, but not many. Began primarily around 1538 and later. So that's kind of the common way to answer this question. But maybe I'm really asking what if there are any earlier genealogical records. Now I could continue to ask questions of the helper. But the answer here is this actually correct? This is AI, and it may not have complete information or be accurate with what it has. So this may not be accurate at all. one of the ways that I test these, and I've mentioned that, is that I ask questions that I know the answer to. So if I know exactly what the answer is and I ask the question, then I can tell how good their answer is by whether or not they answer the question that I already know the answer to. So that's one way of learning kind of how to do this, to see if that will answer the questions properly. Let's jump out of here. Let's go out and look at another AI program. This one's called Microsoft Copilot. This is part of the Edge browser. It is, and the Bing search engine, their website, and it's free with Microsoft. I think you get a little bit more connection with Microsoft if you have a subscription to Microsoft 365 with Word and Excel and PowerPoint and all those programs. If you have that, then this is going to be something that you'll get along, because they're adding it into all those other programs. When a lot of times, though, like with Microsoft and some of the other companies, you'll see news articles that say, "Oh, they've added AI to Word, or they've added AI to Excel, or whatever." Well, yes, but that's for what's called enterprise users. Those are the companies that contract with Microsoft for using Microsoft products across their company. Some of these have not kind of worked their way down to the people who are subscribing for individual use. But here's what Copilot had to say about the records. They say that there were records beginning with leading local families, pedigrees going back 100, 150 years. They're in the medieval period, and then there's some dates here, most of which you'll see the 1538 date again. One thing that's important about Microsoft, and it's almost unique. There are very, very few other. I haven't found any, as a matter of fact, any other the chatbots out there, the AI programs that give you footnotes. So, except the new one here from FamilySearch is giving footnotes. But so here we are with the response. It's a little more information with some links. And here's an article in the Britannica Encyclopedia online. There's a Family Tree magazine, and there's some other articles. So there's a way to start getting more and more information about what you really need to know about the earliest records. So those footnotes and sources are the main selling point for using Copilot, as opposed to most of the other chatbots. You're going to find people who are using them, but they're not using them to try to do research or get questions about specific types of records and things like that. And that's the kind of thing that you need a footnote for. You need to know where your source is and whether it's correct and not made up. And so when they give you the sources, that makes it much easier for you to verify whether or not the information is correct. What if I go back now and ask, can you tell me where the 1851 English parish map is on FamilySearch? Okay. I got a little bit more information. I'm asking where it is, and I'm asking where it is on a website, and I'm asking for a specific map. So let's see. Yes, it's available on FamilySearch. It's part of the England Jurisdiction 1851 project, and it goes on to explain some information about it. So what's the point of me jumping out there? Well, what you may not have been aware of is that all the information on FamilySearch is completely searchable by Google and Microsoft and all the other browsers. It's open to the entire internet. So you can use the AI programs on Google and Microsoft and find some of the same information. Why would you use the FamilySearch one as opposed to Google and Microsoft? Because it's a question about how thorough and how much information you want. The one that's been put into place on FamilySearch websites should take you directly just to FamilySearch, but these are going to give you information from all over, from different places around. Just be aware that there's, and I don't want to put this in the sense that there's any competition. It's just there's more other tools which may also be used for some of the same purposes. And then, just for adding on, I did a Google search and I put the same question into the Google search field and I got English jurisdictions 1851 right out the bat. And then I got another link to it on historical maps. So if you think of the AI helper that's on FamilySearch as a finding aid for finding information that you need or questions you need answered, one of the things that what I'm going to talk about in just a moment here is when you move ahead on that, how much information. I mean, you may not even understand that the answers to the information and the things that are out there even exist. And so this is what it does is it gives you a window into answers for your questions and additional resources that you didn't have any idea were actually on the website. Now, one of the other kinds of questions that you might want to ask is like an informational question. I mean, my one about the Civil War was kind of get me started on Civil War, but the history of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and I misspelled the Austro-Hungarian. It doesn't matter if you misspell stuff or if you do stuff that's just sort of like you're guessing at what it could be or whatever. And then it will answer it. And without saying and being real rude, it'll tell you that you misspelled the word. So this gives kind of a brief history of it, but it also gives a lot of links once again to the wiki. So this is a good way to get into and ask questions that might not be found so simply by doing research directly into or doing searches directly in the research wiki. So what if you have a problem with doing or working with the FamilySearch family tree? You need instructions by some specific instructions. So here is tell me about merging. And this is another way of asking questions is tell me about. And this one is tell me about merging records in the family tree. And so there's the list of steps. And then it would tell you how to do the merging back and forth. And then you'll see there's help articles and blogs. And not all of this comes out of the research wiki, because that doesn't have research wiki doesn't have this kind of information, but there's a lot of different additional information to explain the process of merging. So that when you get through, you really have quite a bit of information about that particular topic and how to do it. Probably enough to get well into the problem, into doing merges. So here's kind of an informational one. What if you just want to ask a question about something that happened with FamilySearch, like when was the family tree introduced, or when was the first Roostech conference, or when did historical kinds of things that you're interested in, and you just want to know this information. So when I asked when was the first Roostech conference, it said and came back and said there was held in 2011. And then there are two links. And by the way, the links are not pertinent and don't really address the question. They are basically not helpful because, well, the Roostech that celebrates 10 years is, but the other one is a different conference altogether. Now, here's an interesting one. The statement here is that I'm doing because I know there are a tremendous amount of specific lessons and teaching aids and classes and all sorts of things on the FamilySearch.org website. So the question is, where are they? Here's an explanation of where all that information is, and the links to all that, basically information about where they are. So here's for an example, and this is what I was asking about is, and I might ask this question: did you know there was a learning center on the FamilySearch.org website? And do you know how to find it? And would you have known to even ask the question? Say, this is the difference of being involved with AI, where you can ask kind of general things and start getting specific answers that if you don't even, you can't do a Google search for it because you don't even know it exists. So that's the question. The AI will be answering questions about things that you didn't, by giving you answers to things that you did not know existed. So this is, if you think I'm going to leave you up in the air, I am. No, I'm just kidding. This really is. It's there on the website. And if you go up to the corner, right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see the little round circle with a question mark. And if you can click enough times, you'll find this. But this is buried down about 3 click levels. And the Family Search Tree Essentials and the Research Essentials down there at the bottom of the page are the classes that are used by the Family Search Library in Salt Lake City and the BYU Library Family History Center and other family search centers to train new missionaries, new volunteer missionaries as they come in, and anyone and all of the staff. And these are the lessons that my wife and I use to teach the missionaries at the BYU Library Family History Center. So they're right here. It's all there, all the information, all the lessons. And then there's foreign language research. And my wife and I were visiting the Family Search Library on Friday and spent a few hours talking to people. And we were shown a lot of country-specific training that's now being put up on the website. So it's the kind of thing that you could use, and that you will find once you begin asking questions of the AI chat instead of helper, if you will. So here's another learning center. Were you aware of this learning center? And this is a complete different one, and it's getting started, how to reset a password, etc. So this are the kinds of things that are on the website, but finding these things can be difficult. And the answer is to use this AI tool to find that. So let's see what happens when I try to find something. Here's another resource, by the way, the Family Search Community, and that is also linked up from the little question mark up there. And this is where you can report issues and get information about the status of any issues. If you think something's broken on the website, you can come in here and put that information in, and they'll directly go to people on Family Search, and they'll come and answer it and tell you if they can do anything about it or not. So this is a great help here, the Family Search community. And if you ask the helper, the AI helper, what's the Family Search community, then it will explain to you what it is and give you some more information and links about that. Once you learn that doing genealogy involves a lot more than just searching for names, and you'll find out that you really do need to know the history of the places and events in your ancestors' lives. And this is where I think that the AI chatbots, helpers, whatever they are, will make it much easier to get started and involved with the history of areas. Because depending on the chatbot, obviously, this one here, the helper here that's on FamilySearch, is going to give you answers from FamilySearch and blogs and things. But when you get into the blogs, you're going to get into all of the references that have been used to gather that information. And so there's going to be this is kind of like giving you a window into all the information that you want to know about this particular subject. And eventually would give you enough to become proficient in understanding the history of the settlement of the western part of the United States. Now let's ask a kind of a specific question. So this is, it's specific, you need to know an answer. When was Grayson County, Texas created? Now, there's the answer. Grayson County, Texas was created on March 17th, 1846. But there's a link down here for one footnote down to the footnote, and it says the footnote is another look at Roots Tech experience, FamilySearch blog. And you look at that, and basically all it is an article, something about the Roots Tech experience. Doesn't have anything to do with Grayson, Texas, Grayson County, Texas. Okay, so you're going, this is kind of odd. Why would it give me this? And the answer is it's a strikeout as a source. It doesn't tell me anything about the county. So what am I going to do? I'm going to look at where it says ask a question, and I'm going to look at the fine print. The fine print says search results are generated by artificial intelligence, so errors and unexpected results are possible. Okay. Now, you might think, well, that means that they're not reliable. Well, the answer is they're not unreliable. They're just not completely reliable. So what happens is that whenever you get any type of information, you have to verify it in some way. So maybe I've asked a question about Grayson County, Texas, that is outside of the information that's being used by the FamilySearch AI program. And it probably is, but it's probably in the research wiki, and it would probably be correct in the research wiki. So let's ask it again, only this time ask a question about Grayson County. And then there's a history of Grayson County, Texas. But by now you may be getting a little bit skittish and thinking that perhaps all this information isn't correct. So you may want to go out and search the resources. So any information you get from an AI source, period, and any information you get from an AI source needs, from a standpoint of doing actual research or using information that will be incorporated in your family tree or in some writing that you want to provide to other people or to be used, must be verified. And also to remember that the FamilySearch Research Wiki, if this all came from the Research Wiki, isn't a source. It's just another finding aid. Even though there's more information here, it's still not a source because it still has to be verified from some original information. So in this case, to verify the startup date for Grayson County, Texas, I went to the Newberry Atlas of Historical County Boundaries, which is one of the most reliable core programs there is for finding the information about every county and everything back to the original 1620 and 1605 counties up till the present. And everything in the Atlas of Historical County Boundaries cites the law, the actual law that created or or initiated any of the actions. So all the county changes, all the boundary changes, everything's in this one website, including a map, an interactive map of all the counties in the United States that shows you the actual boundary changes in a kind of a movie sort of way if you go clicking through it. So you see it says right up there, 17 March of 1846. Now that is the same date given by the FamilySearch search, but now we have a real source and we have a way of citing that as a from information, because it tells you exactly where this came from in the Texas laws, 1846, first legislature on page 7. Now, what if I ask the Microsoft Copilot about the history of Grayson County, Texas? Okay, now I get the whole traces. You'll see there's one thing that said the county was created from Fannin County by the legislature on March 17th, 1846. And then it goes on to tell more information. And if you're using Copilot with the Edge browser, you'll get footnotes that will let you easily verify the information from other websites or from sources eventually. Now, if you're using this for academic purposes and you're doing it, it's good. It's a good way to get outlines and into information. But if you're doing a class, for example, and you're studying for a class at the university or whatever, and you want to use this, I would suggest you go past the Wikipedia, Texas history kinds of things and find some original resources through accredited type information. There's some sources that tells you where it came from, and except for Wikipedia, that's not a source. What if you want to know about the website itself? This kind of question asking the helper to answer questions about itself. So here's what I ask. I ask about images in the search tab. If you go to the search tab on FamilySearch, the top of the page, and click on it, you'll see it says records. Then the next thing is images. Well, maybe you thought that images were pictures or whatever, but it's not. It's actually more records. So you may want to ask that question. What are the FamilySearch images on the search tab? You'll see what it says. It says the retrieved documents do not provide specific information about the FamilySearch images in the search tab. Documents mainly discuss features and updates, etc. Okay, so it can't answer the question. And it's a simple question because I asked, what are they in the search tab? But the problem here is that the question's not properly accurately phrased. This is where we're getting into sort of the idea that I mentioned earlier, and that is that you need to be doing searches over and over so you can learn what it is and what is not going to let the search engine or the AI help or chatbot find this information. So rephrasing the question and using the title and tags used by FamilySearch. So first of all, they call them historical images, and they're on the FamilySearch website. Once I add that question, I get all the information about what they are, how they work, and what it is. And if you're not aware of what the images are, you're missing about all the records on FamilySearch, because the records on those are where all of the pile, it's a huge pile of records organized geographically, but it's all the records on FamilySearch. Whereas, as I mentioned earlier, there's catalogs 2 years out of date. And I've mentioned that you don't, whether I didn't mention this, but if you do a search for a name in the historical records set, as opposed to historical images, you're only going to get indexed records, and then those are not complete. So this is the images is really the core product now on the FamilySearch.org website. And what I did early, just to earlier in this presentation is in comparing it out to other chat box. As I'll repeat again, it's important that you start out by asking questions you already know the answer to. If you ask a question you know the answer, then you are easily in the situation where you're going to be able to understand how you need to ask questions. So asking, for instance, my question about the search images, I knew all that, but I didn't know how the chatbot would look. Now I know the chatbot needs to use the language from the website. So if I want to ask about historical records, I have to use that term, historical records. And then it would be probably more accurate and give me more information. So now this is the search from Copilot. So if I ask that same question of Copilot, it's going to answer it also. And remember that I mentioned that FamilySearch is one of the websites that is completely open to searches from external search engines. So you can search FamilySearch using any one of the search engines, and usually some of the AIs. The problem with the AI, using a variety of the AI chatbots that are out there, the programs that are proliferating, is that their large language model may not include anything about FamilySearch, and so they may not be able to answer anything. But Microsoft is using their search engine as the basis, and so they can do that. And this is kind of a mostly correct answer. If I read through this, there's probably a few things that I wouldn't have said. So keep in mind that the AI chatbots are kind of advanced search engines with a capability to use natural language. And sometimes they act their age, which, by the way, I haven't quite pegged it, but it's preteen. So I don't think they've gotten that advanced that much past that. Thanks for watching.